Try to get my camera to go. Mm, all right, live. All right, so what I want to share with you today is, or I want to pose or put out there to look at, is the idea of socially accepted judgment. And this comes from a long period of time of understanding it. So I'll just tell you right now that I live in a nudist, or actually, it's a clothing optional community, but I don't consider myself a nudist. There are nudists that live here. So I don't make this I guess it's not an identity. It's just that I like the whole idea of being naked with people and not caring. And the first thing that one of the ideas that we run into all the time is is it because you're into sex and blah blah blah, and that is just ignorance from people that are outside of the new in the nudist community. There are places that it's not just nudism, but it's a sexual lifestyle, and but the place that I'm staying is not that at all. And so, what I want to speak on, what's really interesting to me is I've never really felt like a judgmental person. I was raised I was raised to be, in a conservative household. So gay marriage was not a thing. I was raised around not being, making sure me as a man didn't act like I was gay or give any indication that I was gay. And, my whole environment was that Catholic school. But still, there was something in me that questioned that. Like, I still held it. I don't wanna take that away and say that I was, like, this open, accepting person, not that way at all. So, give you an example that I just when people were talking about, uh, homosexuality back in the '80s, let's say, it's a very different conversation that we're having now about it. And so it was way more socially acceptable to talk openly about how you didn't like gay people, or you, and I wasn't one of those people, but I wanted to make sure that I proved that I wasn't gay. That was like what I was taught by the men around me. Um, but I knew, like, one of the arguments in the political sphere was, that being gay was a choice. And that didn't sit with me because I knew how heterosexual I was. Like, I was not attracted to men, still not attracted to men. And as open as I have been, it just feels like an innate acceptance of who I am. And so back then I was like, I accepted, even though I didn't know anybody that was gay. I knew that there was something different going on inside of if one man is attracted to another man, they were having a different experience than I was having. And now as I'm saying this out loud, it makes me realize that I already had the idea that other people were having a different perception of the world. My one of my indications. So I evolved over time to come to understand, homosexuality as, just a thing that other people are having the experience, and I have no right to even really talk about it because it isn't like I'm not having that experience. So why should I judge those people? And so the point of this is to talk about socially accepted judgment. So back in the '80s, it was totally socially acceptable to talk about gay people. I mean, you can go back into sitcoms and you can go into like mass media that made it acceptable to talk about people who are gay in a derogatory way. And You just don't see that anymore because we've shifted the understanding of homosexuality to the point that doesn't mean that there aren't people that are still holding on to the homophobia and they still want, or believe that, being homosexual is a choice or all of that stuff. That stuff is still happening within people. It's just far, far more not socially acceptable to speak it out loud. So it's being spoken about. It's either being spoken about inside or it's being spoken between couples or people inside or people who are still holding on to this perspective. And it got me thinking about racism too and my connection with racism. The biggest thing for me that was so damn frustrating was I did not feel racist. But I did not have black people around me. I grew up so white and with just whiteness around me. And so I didn't understand the culture. So really the way that I looked at it is, I was very taken by Jesus, judge not lest ye be judged. And there something felt really good. It was like, I don't want to judge people. But then I would watch the news and the way it was portrayed, and I would just be like, why can't they, this was a rationale that was in my head at the time. Why can't they just act normal? They're egregiously loud. They have all the, I'm speaking from my old self that, why, and what is with this rap music? They're speaking about gangs and why don't they just act normal? And it makes me, makes my stomach sick that I thought this way, but it was the truth. This is the way that I held that. And what evolved over time was understanding culture and understanding that they're singing about what they're going through. And speaking out, I began to understand the the gift of being loud and using your voice and broadcasting. And I was just like, geez, I want to do that more. I wasn't doing that in my life. And it's like I wanted to be more like a black person or black community. And it's so interesting because that's what's happening now today is that we know that underneath it all, there is people that are still holding prejudice. And, even though people like me is like, it doesn't matter. It's the quality of character of the person. But there's still racism. And that's the interesting thing. That's another discussion about, picking apart everybody's, if they say one thing that's out of context or whatever else, then they're a racist. And then they just like that's a whole nother social element. But it still goes along the line of it is like racism it does not seem socially acceptable to just speak it out. Like you're going to get canceled. You are going to have if you speak directly to, you don't like black people, you're going to get the attention from people that don't like black people and that's it. There's not going to be any broad social acceptance of it because broadly socially we we don't allow people to judge in out in the public. And it's interesting because I've really enjoyed that shift because to me I feel like there's just so much more acceptance and so much more connection. And I'm sure there's people that would say, how it's still out there. And I agree. My point is it's now in the closet. It's more in the closet. It's now people are picking apart people's lives in ways trying to suss out their secret world. Whereas before you could just say it out loud and it's not socially acceptable to do that anymore. So my point is that what I'm getting to in this is what I'm going through now. So it's the most ridiculous. Like I did not decide to move into a nudist community, and so just by needing a space to stay for a night in my RV, I end up in this nudist place, and I've never been one. And I'm open. I'm like, okay, I'm going to check it out. And all of a sudden, I'm finding that there's all these beautiful people here. I'm finding that I'm still holding on to self-consciousness about my body, and then I end up moving into the place and spending time, and I'm falling in love with the people. And I'm also falling deeper in love with myself and accepting of myself and understanding that there was even more conceptually I could say, I'm open to it. But underneath, there was still this anxiety about, being naked with other people. What are they thinking about me? What am I thinking about them? And then it's gotten to the point where it's so comfortable that that I just had breakfast in our cafe with a bunch of other naked people sitting. I was sitting there eating naked eating breakfast. But what's been so interesting to me is that when nudism is brought up, and if people I talk to that are outside of nudism don't understand it at all, there are already pre-digested things that people are ready to say, like socially constructed things that are there. And the number one thing that I hear anytime that I'm say that I'm a nudist or I live in a nudist community, because I don't say I'm a nudist because I'm not I don't consider myself a nudist. I think of a nudist as like what do you call it, an activist. I'm just somebody that likes to participate, and I understand, and I can see how our culture would be better if we all did it, um, for very literal reasons. But the number one thing that people say when I bring up where I'm at, and they say it like it's the easiest thing in the world to say, and they're just like, they're, I don't want to be around. I don't want to see a bunch of fat old people. And now, like when I hear that, I used to kind of go along with it a little bit, and that was a while back. I'd just be like, "Yeah, I understand," and then I would be like, saying it's not like that and whatever else. I don't do that anymore because I recognize what that is. That's fucking judgment. That's just pure fucking judgment. Because even like a Christian would say this, and it's just fucking judgment. They are, from the Christian perspective, they're children of God, and they're beautiful people. These are my friends now. I care for them and I love them. And so when you just say, I don't want to see ugly naked people, like that is so despicable and disgusting. And it just comes right off the tongue like it's just natural. Like, and I can't even tell you like how, like, even the people that I think of as like really good people, they just say it. Like it's nothing. It happened to me on a call recently where it came up that I was living in a nudist community and just some loud woman just said, I don't want to see naked people. And that's what I did. I got completely silent. The whole group, there was probably five or six of us, just went absolutely silent. She was waiting for social confirmation so that her little bit of judgment, her way of seeing the world would be validated. And that's the interesting thing about socially accepted judgment. And it's so interesting that how the fuck did I get here? Like, how did I get to a nudist community and be playing in this world, but rather to be in a place that it is so wildly popular to socially judge nudists and nudism itself. Like it was probably one of the easiest and I mean, even the most beautiful people that I've spoken to, they I mean, they immediately just say, and even worse, they judge themselves. I would never take my clothes off and I hate my body. It's like right there. Like that's just huge. Like that's despicable. That's awful. And that also says something about you judging other people outside of yourself. In fact, I've had people tell me that because of your own judgment, judge not lest he be judged. You literally, if you're judging somebody outside of yourself, you're it's just a function. You're judging yourself. There's humans, there's all kinds of humans, and if your mind is stuck on one kind of human and all you want to be around is the aesthetically pleasing one. So if these old people, as you say, you don't wanna be around those people, but you put clothes on them, and then you see them interacting with their grandchildren and their children, and they're beautiful, and they have beautiful families, and they've sacrificed for their loved ones, and that's okay. That's okay, but it's not okay if they don't have their clothes on, and that's the interesting thing because a lot of the people here, usually people that visit for short periods of time, they have to keep this thing quiet. Like, this is a part of their life, and they have beautiful relationships with their family, but they feel as if they have to keep it secret. In fact, I almost kept it secret because I found out that my family was being super judgmental about me living here. And then I said, "Fuck them," because I understand what they're where they're at is just fucking judgment. This is one of the most socially acceptable things. Wherever I go, if I see nudist stuff in the comments, I don't want to see old people naked, ugly old people. And the other one is sex. Like, there's this idea that there's just sex going on here. The only sex that I have seen here, and it's almost coming up into a year, were two doves. Yes, the birds, doves. I mean, I haven't even seen anybody really passionately kiss here. So this idea that if you're going to come to one of these places, there's just going to be people making out all over the place. I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen here because it happens outside of the gates, even with people with clothes on. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm creating content for my empathacademy.org. And I've realized that I've been trying to make content in a way that is the old way. So I just had an idea. So this is me exploring the idea, but I want to interaction. I want collaboration. And so at empathacademy.org, you go there and you can go into this course. They're called courses, but it's not really a course because I'm not the only one that's going to make content. But I will be one that will participate in how we collaborate and we talk about a topic. So if you sign up at empathacademy.org, you can come and have a discussion about this. And this is where we can talk about this freely. If you're judgmental and you want to change the way you're judgmental, we can talk about that. Or you can talk about how you went from being judgmental, like I did in this video, and going to something else. Or you can push the envelope and show me something different. What am I not seeing? It's this is about collaborative conversations and communication where people can freely speak, where we can get out of our hidden worlds where we like this is the perfect example is socially accepted judgment. If there's something like nudism and you have to keep it quiet, boom, you can go, now where to go for conversation. So yeah, I'm going to end that here. And then you can go to empath.org, empathacademy.org, sign up, and you'll just kind of check out what's going on and then just go into courses. You can find this one with the thumbnail that's already there. And you just start the conversation. It's like you can record a video yourself. You can record an audio. You can type out your messages. You can even put a longer message on it. So anyway, let's collaborate. Love you guys. Bye bye.